Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Bhante. Good morning, Brian.
Hi, Momo. Good morning.
Morning, Bhante.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Bhante. Morning, Brian.
Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Bhante. Good morning.
Good morning, California.
Yeah.
Mint.
Good morning, Bhante.
Hi. Good morning. Good morning. Okay.
Everyone's happy on this Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Very good.
Saturday morning, not too many people are there anyway.
Still 1 minute.
Good morning, Bhante.
Doug feel
Good morning, Bhante. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Bhante.
Not too many people are today. Good morning.
I'm sure they'll come along.
Okay. Let us begin with our meditation. Metta meditation. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desire for sensual pleasures, one comes never again to birth in the womb. These are very wonderful, altruistic thoughts that we all want to cultivate together as a one human unit, one human community, to wish peace and happiness for those who are suffering. Let us focus our mind on our mindfulness practice. We pay total, undivided, pure, clean attention with good intention, without greed, hatred, and delusion. That is called mindful attention, yoniso manasikara. We pay this pure, clean, mindful attention to pure, clean breath. As we breathe in and out, we notice the breath touching our rims of our nostrils, and then we notice expanding our lung area, expanding our abdominal area. As we breathe out, lower abdomen contracts, chest area contracts, the breath leaves the nostrils. As we breathe out and in, we notice inhaling and exhaling with a very brief pause. We should not try to exaggerate the pause. Let it be so exactly as it is or as it is happening. I think it would be better to say as it is happening rather than as it is, because all these are happening, actions, movement. As we breathe in and out, we feel our breath and we feel our perception, thoughts, and consciousness. As we breathe in, they all change. The feeling that we had at the beginning of the breath, when the breath touches the nostrils, is no longer there when we notice the expansion of our lung area and lower abdominal area. Each place we feel different feeling, and yet they are feelings. Similarly, our perception changes from moment to moment, from place to place as we feel. Our thought or intentional attention changes, our consciousness changes, and they really change all the time. Only when we pay attention can we notice them. That is why the Buddha said, Manasikara Sambhava Sabbe Dhamma. With mindfulness, the Dhamma manifests. Dhamma can be noticeable, can be discerned. If we do not pay attention, they simply happen as normally they do without our awareness. As we breathe out, same feeling, perception, thought, and consciousness change together with the changing breath. Then we notice that there is nothing to excite, nothing new, although every breath is new, every moment of feeling is new, and these are the events, actions that repeat. So there is nothing new happens. And then we learn to let go of whatever goes and let them disappear, and new breath, new feeling, new perception arise. They also disappear. Then we have the moment of letting go, or thought of generosity, or letting go of our greed or clinging as a hindrance. And then there is no friction, no uptightness, no rigidity, because we relax, the body relaxes, mind is relaxed, and the breath relaxes, and therefore everything is relaxed, no rigidity. There arises a moment of feeling of metta. When everything is relaxed, we feel metta. And then we also feel that we are doing all this for the benefit of all suffering beings. Knowing and seeing suffering beings triggers our compassion. And so we notice the mind is full of compassion. Restlessness and grief will fade away. And then our mind becomes very active, seeing these things. Then our sleepiness and drowsiness fade away. Seeing all these benefits, results in our own personal experience, our doubt disappears. Doubt regarding the practice, doubt regarding our attainment, gaining, all will vanish, and then gain joy, happiness, and concentration. When concentration arises, this may not be very deep this moment, but it is deep enough for us to reflect on our own deepest feeling, perception, thought, volition, and the breath, they all change in a subtlest way. So the concentrated mind notices these subtle changes, very much like vibration, all over our body. And noticing this, mind and body becomes even more calm, relaxed, and peaceful. This is a real experience of peace, and let us continue this practice and see this experience within ourselves. Nothing we bring from outside, but all happens within our own mind and body. And keep paying total attention without using words which can block your direct awareness. Dukkha pattaca nidukkha, bhaya pattaca nibbhaya, soka pattaca nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. With this metta benediction, we want to continue our Dhamma talk. I have been talking on dependent origination. We discussed yesterday a part of feeling, and although it is not totally exhausted, but I have to stop talking on feeling, and according to the dependent origination, when feeling arises, depending on feeling, craving arises. Tanha. Tanha is described by the Buddha. It is this craving that leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust, seeking delight here and there. That is craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, craving for extermination. These are the three types of craving. Most of the Buddhist, Theravada and Mahayana are familiar with these three types of feelings. Buddha put them in Sutta Nipata in verses, and there he says, with craving as partner, a person wandering on this long journey does not transcend samsara, with its becoming thus becoming otherwise. That is what happens when we have craving. When we use the word craving, it can be there are many words: desire, wanting, and many nuance. But we use perhaps the word craving to cover all these words. Craving is, we because of craving, we become this or we become that. Pali word is itta bhava, anyata bhava. Itta bhava means thisness, anyata bhava means thatness. So we put our what you call stake in the ground, and then this is it, and this is mine, this I am, this is myself, or that was I, that was myself, and that was mine, or this will be I, that will be mine, or that will be myself. In this way, this craving vacillates, going from one place to another, one time to another, and try to fix it, and trying to grab hold onto it. And therefore, sangsarang nati vaddati, we keep anchored in the samsara, meaning repetition of birth and death. So the craving has so much power in it that in fact many people don't even like to talk or hear about craving, because it is so deeply rooted in our mind, in our life. Everything pivots around craving in many different words we use, but essence is the craving. We pivot around that. That is why it is most difficult for people to listen to it, think about it, and they get very tired of hearing about craving. And this craving, there are a lot of things to say about craving. I try to say a little bit about craving today. And Buddha mentioned 3 types of craving. They are called kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha in Pali. And this is so important. In the first sermon, Buddha, when he outlined his entire teaching and summarized and gave in a nutshell, called Four Noble Truths. The number 2 of them, first is suffering, number 2 is craving, the cause of suffering. So it is so important that in the first sermon, it is mentioned, and he elaborate little bit, saying Kamatanna, Bhavatanna, Vibhavatanna. Kamatanna means the craving for seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. These are called 6 sensory objects. And the desire for them is called kamatanna. Sometimes some people think, without understanding the Dhamma, whenever they hear kamatanna, they think it is desire, sexual desire. That is only one of these 6 kind of craving. The craving for seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. All of them involved in the word craving or kamatanna. Kamatanna. Now, this is the most dominating mental state. The entire life is dominated by these 6 kind of craving. And that is why it is so hard to get rid of. We will discuss later on how to get rid of it, so forth. But today I want to spend on this topic. Kamatanna. In this life, we try to satiate our craving for seeing, hearing, and so forth. It is insatiable. Craving for seeing, hearing, and so forth is insatiable. And yet, we want to satiate it. If you ask, are you satisfied? Now, anytime in your life, anytime, even in the oldest stage, if somebody asks, are you satisfied, are you happy? You might say, not yet. Something missing. Something missing. I don't know how to put my finger in it. But something is missing. That missing, we are trying to find that missing thing. That is the nature of craving. In my very favorite simile is, it is not my own, but I elaborated what the Buddha said. It in Pali, I try to avoid Pali because many people don't know Pali. The meaning of what he said in Pali is, when I explain it in simple language, you will understand the meaning. Suppose a person has a large house, very large, and one fine morning he wakes up and finds the entire house is full of gold. Entire house. That gold is so much that he cannot use it all his life. His family cannot use all of it. Even his village cannot use all of them because so much gold is there. There was a little leak on the roof, and then that night somehow gold was rained, and that gold filled this house. From every nook and corner, from basement to the ceiling, large house. I don't know how large it is. When he wakes up in the morning, he hardly can move because everything is covered with gold. Then he would look around and say, gee, I wish I had a bigger house. He does not know, does not say, my goodness, how can you use all this gold? Why should I have so much gold? He doesn't say that. He would say, I wish I had a bigger house to have more gold. That, that is the nature of craving. And Buddha said, "Na kaha," I so much irresistible in using Pali. Na kahapana vasena tittikamesu vichati appasada sukakama iti vinyaya pandito api dibbesu kamesu satin ratin sonadi gacchati tannakkairato diro nibbanatteva santike and so forth. So, that is the nature of desire. So, the person, everyone, normally tries to satisfy their eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind, seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching and thinking. They are trying to satisfy these senses in this life. And from the day we were born till we die, that is what we are trying to do. That is what we are trying to do. We are trying to satisfy our senses. Without being able to satisfy, we are going to pass away. Then what we think? We want to have another, just we have not finished our job now. It is half done or much more to do. And therefore we want to have another life. And think maybe next life, whatever I could not get in this life, probably next life I will be able to get it. Comes next life, the same thing. So we keep wishing and wishing and wishing to get something and never satisfied. And that is called insatiable nature of tanha. And because of this insatiability or craving, we suffer. Instead of using what we have and trying to remove this insatiable nature, instead of trying to understand the true nature, we try to perpetuate our suffering by wishing to get to do something that we cannot do. By acquiring, we cannot fulfill the desire. No matter how much we acquire, how much position, how much wealth, how much we achieve materially as well as immaterially, we can never be satisfied. And that is the nature of desire or craving. And that's called kama tanha. Kama tanha. And since we cannot satisfy in this life, we want to have another life to start all over again and to have wishing, perhaps next life I will be able to satisfy. And that is called bhavatanha. Bhavatanha, to become another one. That is why thisness, itta bhava, anyata bhava. Itta bhava means this life. Now, sometimes it is called ittatang. In Mahanidana Sutta it is called ittatang. In Sutta Nipata it is called itta bhava. Itta bhava means thisness. Human beings, humanness, humanity, not humanity, humanness I would say. That is thisness. And thisness being thisness, we cannot satisfy. Then we want to be otherwiseness, that is another life, next life. Uh, Friends, I am not trying to put something, some kind of theory or philosophy, but this is what actually happening to us all our life. This is nothing mysterious in it. That is the true nature. Then Bhavatanna. And then we find one day, if we think, well, Bhavatanna is those who have Bhavatanna are the ones who try to practice self-mortification. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Buddha mentioned that he avoided two extremes, self-mortification and self-indulgence. And so those who are practicing self-mortification think that this life I could not achieve what I wanted if I mortify the body, torture the body. Perhaps I might be able to get satisfaction in the next life. And that life also, the person might think, I can purify my life by torturing, and he might repeat it again another life. So that is the extreme. One extreme we go with the craving for existence, Other is craving for non-existent. That's called Vibhavatanna. Vibhava means extermination. Vibhava means complete annihilation. That is called annihilationism. That is in this life. That is what self-indulgence. When we practice self-indulgence, we do enjoy sensual pleasures as much as you until you die. Die of enjoying sensual pleasures. And thinking that this is the only life, and eat, drink, and enjoy. We don't have any more life, and therefore we enjoy this life. So there are philosophers in Indian traditions and any tradition where people think that this is the only life. That's a 100% materialistic view. Materialist. They practice self-indulgence, thinking that there is no more life. Unfortunately, problem is that without getting rid of the cause of rebirth, the next existence, not the existence, by so wishing that there should not be any more life in future, you cannot stop taking rebirth in the next life because you have craving. So that is why in Mahasatipatthana Sutta, Buddha said not to get what one wants is suffering. And Buddha said, Jati Dhammana bhikkhave sattanang evang iccha uppajjati aho vataman jati dhamma asama nacha vatano jating agathe yasi. Being subject to taking rebirth may wish, may I not have rebirth. By so wishing, it will not happen. Therefore, that person suffers not getting what one wants. That is because of the desire or craving. With craving is intact. Craving is intact. But at the same time, person thinks, I don't want any more life. Ignorance is intact. And he might think, I don't want any more life. This is the only life. And therefore I must enjoy and die. But the root, the cause, factors, dependent origination, we learn the factors depending on which rebirth can take place are still there. The factors for free birth is still there. Without destroying them, particularly craving and ignorance, no matter how much we wish not to have rebirth, it will take place. Some people even getting tired of this life. They think whenever we talk about craving, some people say, well, I have no craving for this life, I don't care, I kill myself. That is another foolish attempt to have a shortcut to liberate. That is also not going to be a solution. That's not a solution to our suffering. So craving has such a wide variety of things happening in our life, and therefore it is very difficult. I want to I don't think I can start. I can do it today, but I like to mention that if I mention one, I think in few minutes I can finish it. One of them I can mention. That is, Buddha showed us 60 places where craving arises. Just imagine how big it is. If it is only one, arising only in one place, perhaps you may have a hope that you can end it very quickly. But when it arises in 60 places, it is a yeoman task to get rid of it. What are these 60 places? And Buddha said, when I mention one, you may get a clue, but not the whole picture. One is, Buddha asked the question, because when this craving arises, because where does it arise? Where it settles down? Where does it settle down? And Buddha says, whatever in the world has pleasant and agreeable nature, it is there that this craving arises when it arises. It is there that this craving settles down when it settles down. And what in the world has pleasant and agreeable nature? What in the world, what on earth have pleasant and agreeable nature where craving arises and settles down? Okay, I don't want to continue this because I cannot finish if I started today. Wherever pleasantness and agreeableness is, craving arises there and settle down. not only arising and disappearing. Craving arises there and settles down. When it arises and disappears, that will not be a big problem. But it takes root, anchors it, settles down. And therefore, we have to find these 60 places, and we have to have a very powerful digging bar to remove it, because once it arises and settles down, take root, its roots, put its feet down. So we have to find a way to remove them. It is not easy to nip in the bud because it is already put its feet down and roots are deep. Now we have to learn how to find out before we remove them. So with this I want to end this morning's talk, and we continue this, and in my next talk I tell you what those 60 places are, which are agreeable and pleasing. Agreeable, sometimes something can be agreeable but not very pleasing. This not only agreeable but also very pleasing. Friends, I am happy that you came for this session and meditated with us. We all practice metta meditation. We want to wish we all as one human body, together in one voice, one intention. We want to wish those who are suffering from this COVID-19 be free from that suffering. We want to wish at the same time that there are many people who suffer or grieving over the death of their loved ones. Friends, when I mention this every day those who are listening and those who know Dhamma should not repeat their grief. They must remind themselves of Dhamma. That is the nature. So I am not mentioning this to perpetuate their grief, and I want honestly to wish them to be free from grief. Millions of people suffer from grief. May they be free from grief and return to normal life, understanding Dhamma, live healthy life and good long life in good health. And there are many people who are trying to help these suffering beings, especially doctors, nurses, hospital staffs, and those who produce various type of pills. And there are many people who are trying to discover some kind of vaccine to prevent this and to overcome this, and may they be successful. And all these are very compassionate people. There are people who are financially supporting and supporting in many different ways in their own capacity. And may they all be peaceful and happy, free from sickness, and all of them live long with good health to continue their very noble service for which they sacrifice their life. And there are others, leaders. Some leaders have been doing wonderful job, doing their best to reduce this virus, and some have been very successful because of their wisdom, compassion, understanding. And there are some other leaders, we want them to be very wise, understanding, and have compassion, to have wisdom, to make right decision for the benefit of all human beings. And with this wish, I want to end this morning session. And once again, I must thank you all for coming and participating in this. Thank you. See you tomorrow.